Hello, my name is Jeanette Barnes. I make very large drawings of cities and also monotype prints. I live in London and I have a studio in Hackney Wick. I teach at the Royal Drawing School and recently I won the Trinity Body Wharf Drawing Prize. I was originally from North East Lancashire, very beautiful countryside, lots of hills, but also with factories and industrial structure. My parents worked in factories and my dad worked in a paper mill and he just used to bring me loads of paper home, so I just used to draw a lot. But I remember the structures of the mill, the paper mill, and my mum used to work as a machinist and a weaver. I wasn't allowed to do art at school. They said I wasn't good enough, so I didn't do it till I was about 16 or 17 when I went to a sixth form college, Accrington and Rosedale College, and I did foundation there as well, and it was just so interesting just being able to do art. But it wasn't until I went to Liverpool Polytechnic to do my first fine art degree that I found my subject, because I fell in love with cities and I just love the energy, the movement, the people, the architecture, everything about the kind of like vibrant side of the city I really loved. I realised that that would be my subject matter. I also realised that I didn't want to do painting. So I started doing drawings and I started sketching outside and I started making these very large kind of drawings. I was mainly in the life room, but I did a lot of work outside. I started making work on Liverpool Lime Street Station, really massive big station. I really enjoyed the structure, but also the people moving within it. But I think it also went back to my childhood, seeing everybody in the factories and the people in the structure. But it's a subject that I've carried on now, and I'm now working on King's Cross Station. As I always have done, I go out and I make lots of sketches on location and then go back to my studio and do large compositions from this work. I had a fantastic tutor at Liverpool called Mike Knowles, and he really influenced me. But I was also introduced to lots of people within like the London School, Kossoff, Auerbach, but also Bomberg, Sickert, artists and work from the city, really. I've always loved the abstract expressionists like de Kooning and especially Franz Klein. I love the way those big black brush marks go across the canvas and just like talk about structure. Cy Twombly has been another favourite. And one of the first big exhibitions I ever saw was at Soutine at the Hayward Gallery, and the way that the energy and the vibrancy of his paint and the way he almost like scrabbled for his image was just blew me away, and that influenced me a lot. I've always been interested in older painters as well, such as Rembrandt and Rubens, and especially Titian's for the ways, the textures, but also the way that he just plays around with the image. Quite amazing. I'm working on a few things at the moment. One of the things is some monotype prints. I've been working on prints of construction sites, the one on the East Bank, which is just next to the Olympic Park, and also the Google building in King's Cross. And what I'm going to do is multiple prints, put them all together to make a kind of a really large print of the entire kind of build. So rather than just seeing one aspect, you see different timings of the same construction. I'm also working on large drawings of the interior of the Natural History Museum, which is an amazing building, and King's Cross Station. I've already finished one and I'm hoping to do another one, a little bit more kind of fractured this time. So you're a little bit more disorientated in a way when you're looking around it. I'm hoping to go to Hong Kong soon. And one of the things that I really love doing is going to big cities around the world. Probably my favourite is New York. And taking a smallish board and doing lots of sketches on location, then bringing them back to my studio where I put a really large piece of paper on the wall, make plans from these sketches, and start a really big composition. I mainly use charcoal or compressed charcoal. So I put the ideas down, and then I love taking some of the ideas out. So I'm kind of like building up and layering. And all my work's about journey. It's about actually moving around different places, but also on the surface, taking ideas out, shifting them somewhere else, layering things on top. So it becomes a real kind of like build up an entire idea. So you're not just looking at something, you're looking around something as well. I think one of the biggest challenges of being an artist is actually having the time, being able to afford the time to make your own artwork. I mean, there's very few artists who just survive on selling their own work. So we've all got to do, or most people, I think, have got to do other things. I mean, I do quite a lot of teaching. I teach a lot of like city drawing in different workshops. But it's being able to afford the rent of a studio, being able to afford to go around, being able to afford to get your materials. And it's not easy. So, you have to have different strategies for times that you can actually be there in your studio or go outside. I mean, it would be an ideal world. It would be good if artists were paid more, but it's not as easy as that. My advice to my younger self is not to beat myself up about not painting, and especially not using colour, that I could survive in this art world just drawing. And I do a lot of printmaking, but I see that as drawing on a plate, or sometimes even now I'm using monotypes. It's more kind of fluid, painterly way of working, but of course it's black and white, and I don't need to do anything else, which I think it would have given me a lot less grief if I'd have understood that a little earlier. But there you go. The most unconventional medium that I use, or technique that I use, is from mudlarking. And mudlarking is going down to the Thames in London, and when the tide is out, finding all the kind of like rubbish or treasures perhaps, that the tide has left, that's actually come up from the water. And I often pick up bones, I pick up parts of leather from shoes and pottery, and I put them together. And it's quite strange. It's very different from the other things that I work with. But I had an exhibition once, it was called Tide and Time, that was about the Thames, and it was drawings from the river, from near the river, and also using some of these, shall we say, sculptures, objects that I put together, which I found a really interesting thing to do. I don't listen to music when I'm doing my big drawings at the studio, but when I'm doing printmaking, I'll sometimes have some music on, or when I'm outside sketching on location, I will have my phone on something, and it'll be soul or funk or something like that, because it's really kind of like noisy outside. Sometimes I just really like the noise being out there, but sometimes I just want something that's slightly different from all the kind of like traffic and everything like that. I think some of the best reactions to my work is the size, that people don't realise how big they are. Sometimes they'll have seen them on a small screen, or I do quite a lot of talks where I put slides up, but you don't realise how big they are until you see them in an exhibition or something like that. So I'm always pleased when people go, wow, I didn't realise they had that much kind of like life and energy and scale. All my big drawings are just a bit bigger than me, so it feels like you can walk into the city almost. So I quite like that idea. I suppose the things that I'd like people to take away from my work is how interesting the city is. I mean, the city has so much energy, and it's so inclusive in lots of ways, because there's so many different people coming together at different times, and there's children, older people, workers, holidaymakers, and they're all coming in, especially into the centres of cities. And there's different kinds of architecture, and some architecture is being built, and it's just got that fantastic buzz. And I just hope that I can capture that in my work.